fair value gaps before dropping, right? Or it fills fair value gaps before rising. So now that we do expect this fair value gap to be hit at some point, right? This is how I use the higher time frames to to kind of piece together my analysis, right? So this is the order that I use. So just going to bring things over here. We have structure, dealing range, PD arrays, and fair value gaps. Those are the 4 steps on the higher time frames. Now, the good thing is once you have your higher time frame analysis down, right, the 15-minute time frame is actually the same. So what we can see on the 15-minute time frame is we are in the discount, right? We are below the 50%. Right, so this is where the PD array actually is, right? So we are below the 50%. This is the discount. So the longs from Tuesday the 24th were actually from this key level here, or this absorption area number 2, and we were targeting essentially number 3 and then 4, right? This is how the trade actually played out. So let's break down how I took the trade and why I took the trade, right? So this trade specifically on ES, if I just bring up the Discord over here, so the actual trade itself, so executions at 68.62, and this was a trailed stop, but I had stops at around 68.50, and so we're risking, made about 931 for the day. All right, so we're just going to be breaking down this entire execution, why I took the trade. Now, before we do that, let's just do a bar replay and let's understand the market. All right, so this is the market now. Right, here is the market at, this is now 9:15 on the 15-minute time frame, ES futures, right? ES futures or S&P 500 futures on the 15-minute time frame. This is what my charts look like, right? So these are my 3 levels, and so I have 3 key levels marked out before the market even opens. So I've got key level 3, 2, and 1, and so the game plan is pretty simple. Right, so going into the pre-market session, what is it that I'm anticipating, right? There's a few things I look for before the market even opens, right? So there's a couple of things. Let's break it down. So the first thing is I have my power of 3 tool just for reference. So what this shows us is that this is the weekly candle and the weekly opening price was all the way up here. Now, what this means specifically is when the weekly opening price is much higher, we have a bearish week. Right, so what we can see here is we can see the market is significantly below this weekly opening price, and so we have these 3 levels like this. So what does that mean? So when price is below the weekly opening price, we typically want to be looking for longs, right? This is just a confluence. This is not something I do every single time, because yesterday or Monday the 23rd, I took a short that was below the weekly opening price. So I'm going to go through why, right, what criteria you need to put in place. But before the session begins, I want to understand where we are contextually, right? Are we above the weekly opening price? Are we below, right? So going into pre-market session, we had a lot of different things to indicate longs, right? So the 2 main things specifically was we were below the weekly opening price, and the second thing is we were in discount. Now, these are the 2 things which kind of derive our sort of overall higher time frame narrative, right? So we're below the weekly opening price, we're in the discount, we're below the 50% area. Now, we obviously want to tap into one of these 3 key levels, so 3, 2, or 1. Now, when we look for market open, what we're looking for specifically is something like this. So this is the first 15 minutes. So I never trade the first 15 minutes. I allow the first 15 minutes to dictate the overall direction of the market. So if we go to the pre-market plan, which is here in the VIP. So if we just take a look at the pre-market plan for this day, right? What we saw specifically from a pre-market perspective was this. So this was me posting at around 8:37 Eastern, or just before 9 a.m. Eastern. So what I'm saying to traders is I've got my 3 levels, 1, 2, 3. We're below the weekly opening